Welcome back, everyone. And the new year has started. We are kicking off, and I cannot wait. I actually believe, and this is really the truth of everything, we all just want to be happy. But lives and the world don't always conspire to help us. In fact, it usually feels like quite the opposite is happening. And happiness is something we need to actively work on. So, in a brilliant essay by Rabbi Sacks, he outlines 10 pathways towards happiness, and many of them are things the Jews already do. So, let's delve into Rabbi Sacks's 10 pathways to happiness and see which ones we're already doing that we can use those as a jumping off point to delve deep into our own happiness. So, happiness practice, path, whatever you want to call it, number one is to give thanks, gratitude. If you've watched any video on how to live your best life, gratitude comes up over and over and over. As Jews, we've been doing this for a very long time. In fact, the word Jew, Yehudi, comes from the source of the word for thanks. And in our morning prayers, the first thing we say in the morning is Modeh Ani. I am thankful. I am acknowledging. What do I acknowledge when I wake up in the morning? God's presence in my life, the miracle of waking up. So we already do this. We just need to pay attention. Pathway number two is to give praise. I don't mean take praise, which shower it on. The more praise, the better. But in fact, to give it to others. Often people walk through the world and they are unacknowledged. They're unseen. And by you seeing them, by me seeing you, I actually put something wonderful in the world. I feel great for having acknowledged you, and you feel great for being acknowledged, and you need to pay it forward. In our prayers, we say this 3 times a day. Aleinu l'shabach. It is incumbent on us to praise. This is part of what it means to be a Jew, to praise others, to see the goodness in them, which takes us to pathway number 3, which is to spend time uninterrupted with the people you love. This is really hard. We live in a world that's constantly interrupting us. We interrupt ourselves between phones buzzing, email. Every single thing in your world is going to conspire to interrupt you. As Jews, we have this magic thing called Shabbat, a day of rest. Every single week, on a specific time, on a specific date, we're made to rest for 25 hours. We can put the world on hold, which takes us to pathway number 4 to happiness, which is discover meaning. There's this great line that Rabbi Sacks uses, which is, if you don't know where you want to be, you will never get there, however fast you run. I have this picture of someone running in a race, and they can't see the end. So they don't know if they have to go right or left. They don't see that end point. And that's what I believe Rabbi Sacks is trying to say. Find meaning, find a destination. That way, everything you do leads you towards that destination. Without meaning, you're lost, and you may be doing the same repetitive action without actually knowing where you're going. And finding meaning makes us find ourselves. Pathway number 5 is live your values. As someone who has practiced Judaism for quite some time now, one of the things Jews have is 613 mitzvot, which is 613 commandments to follow. Some of them are really small and innocuous, it feels, like saying a blessing before you take a bite of food or a sip of any drink, and then saying a blessing when you're done. So imagine that every time you go and take a bite of an apple or a sip of water, you're meant to say a blessing before and after. And it's tiresome. It can be a little bit pointless. It feels frustrating. But what Rabbi Sacks is telling us in this is that there's a point in repetition. There's a point in practice. And what that is getting your soul, getting your entire being always doing this over and over again, because you won't always feel like it. And when you don't feel like it, if you're already used to doing it, it becomes part and parcel of living your values. And he has this great line, which is mitzvot are ideals in action, constantly rehearsed. So good. Okay, so again, mitzvot are ideals in action. So your ideals are put into action and constantly rehearsed. Imagine you are an actor and you're about to step on stage. The amount of rehearsal that goes into it, so it becomes second nature. So you are the embodiment of the part you're playing. So much more so in our day-to-day lives. We rehearse, we practice over and over, so we become the person we seek to be. Straight to happiness, number 6, forgive. It's that simple. Forgive. Bad things will happen. People will do things. Often it'll be an accident. Sometimes it won't be. But here's how I feel about it. If God forbid you are in a car accident, you didn't cause it, someone else did, but you're hurt in the car accident. The hurt, that broken leg, you're the one who has to go through life with the broken leg. Every apology, every thing that the other person does to try to take that broken leg away from you, it won't help, because you own that broken leg and you need to recover. You need to make yourself better. And I think the same thing happens with hurt feelings, that even if the other person did it, you still hold on to it. Yes, they should apologize, and maybe they will, but maybe they won't. You still own that feeling. So you need to forgive. You need to move on, because dwelling on that hurt and dwelling on that pain is the opposite of happiness. So forgive. To happiness, number 7, keep growing. I love this. I love to learn and I love to grow. And I love that Rabbi Sacks agrees that one of the ways to be happy is to keep on growing. As Jews, we believe that it's the actions we do that make the world a better place. It's the very antithesis of do what I say, not what I do. We need to lead by example, and that's growth. I will grow, and people around me will see that growth, and hopefully that will be an example to others. But that's not the reason I do it. I do it to grow internally and watch the world around me grow as well. So one of the pathways to happiness is keep growing. There are studies done of people who are in their 90s who are as young as people in their 20s and 30s, and these are people who are constantly learning and growing. Once you stop learning and stop growing, you stagnate and your happiness kind of goes down. There's something in your brain that like fires up when you learn something new. So one of the great pathways to happiness is keep growing. And I'm going to add, which Rabbi Sacks didn't say, keep learning. To happiness, number 8, listen. That's it. Listen. It is one of those Jewish words, Hebrew words that we don't pay attention to enough, which is Shema. We hear it often. Shema Yisrael. Listen, O Israel. And I don't do it enough. I really, really don't. I hear someone speak and I want to jump in with my own ideas. And the truth is that that's not actually helping them unless they've asked for that. Often people just need to speak and they need you to listen. So I'm going to share with you something I've been doing recently that's actually helped me quite a bit, which is beforehand, I was listening in order to answer. So I would hear the first thing they said, I would hear the second thing they said, and then I would tune out for the rest. Excuse the sirens, because I was so busy formulating my answer that I would miss the second part of what they're saying, or I would miss the real intention of their words. So now I've started listening, not in order to answer, but in order to question. So the better I listen, the more I hear of what they have to say, the better questions I have to ask them. And I need to pay attention to everything in order to ask them a question. So it'll be like they're telling me a story, they're telling me something that happened, and I will ask them to clarify, or I'll ask them to share a little bit more so I understand better what they're saying, and changing from listening in order to answer rather to listening in order to question means that I've become a better listener. But, and here's the big but, I need to remind myself to do that often. So the pathway to happiness number 8 was Shema, listen. Pathway to happiness number 9, create moments of silence. Wow, is this one a tough one? At least for me, it's hard. I am surrounded by noise. I'm surrounding myself by noise, by everything I want to learn and see and do. And there's a constant stream of things coming into my life. But Rabbi Sacks says, and this is something that I'm going to have to pay attention to, that God is in every breath we take. I don't always pay attention. In fact, I rarely pay attention to that breath, that God is in every breath we take. But in order to recognize that, there needs to be silence. So I used to have that when I walked. I would walk to complete silence and just pay attention to the world around me. But then I discovered audiobooks. I don't think I could ever go back. But rather than punishing myself and saying, wow, I got rid of that silence in my walking, I'm going to try to find another place to insert that silence. So right now, when I light Shabbat candles, after I've lit the candles, said my blessing, and then prayed for my family, I take a deep breath. And I recognize that God is in that deep breath I took. And I am in that silence for those few minutes. And that's the moment of silence I bring into my week. I should probably do it more often, but I'm going to enjoy that moment of silence and try to create it at other times. Way to happiness number 10. Transform suffering. Rabbi Sacks says, and he's right, obviously, that bad things will happen. If you live in this world long enough, that's just the human condition. It's how we respond. It's what we do with that suffering that will determine if we're going to be happy or not. Transform those moments of suffering into spaces of empathy where we can hold the suffering of others and feel with them. Rabbi Sacks says that don't curse the darkness, light a candle. Don't become a victim of circumstance. Instead, become an agent of hope. That bears repeating. Don't become a victim of circumstance. Instead, become an agent of hope. In these pathways to happiness, there's so much to learn. Choose one, choose them all. Some of them you're already doing, but maybe you're unaware of. And there's bound to be happiness to be found. We're creatures created in light, not in dark. The happiness is our inheritance. It's our heritage. We are a happy people and we can be happy. We just need to find our way. And Rabbi Sacks provides us with 10 different pathways. I will link his essay below. And I want to close with this quote that Rabbi Sacks shares from Anne Frank. So if you can imagine when Anne Frank is writing her diary, the darkness she was living in, and yet she found hope, she found transcendence. And this quote is a perfect example. How wonderful is it that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world? How beautiful is that? How wonderful is it that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world? Thank you so much for watching and see you all soon. Bye.